Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you to our Facebook Friday, where we talk about all things freelancing. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have along the way. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about uh, communication mistakes that baby boomers make when they attempt to work on online freelance networks. This is why, in my opinion, a lot of people fail with this. Is they go into a new arena. They have good skills, but they don't quite know how the game is played in the new arena. You know, it's like you knew how to play football at the old arena, and now you've walked into the soccer stadium, and there's some new things to learn. So today we're going to be talking about those communication things that kind of mess people up as they begin their life freelancing, but also would like to encourage of you calling in to let me know where you're from. Always fun to find that out and see who's on the line today, especially now that people are getting out and traveling a little bit and showing up different places. And also, in our last Tuesday night call, we went on for our members. We went over a feature in the Upwork system, basically that lets you take whatever services you might want to offer and package them up in nice little bite-sized morsels so people can try out your services without having to commit to a whole new process. And so if you a member of one of our programs and have access to that replay, I highly suggest that. We actually did 2 sessions on that last Tuesday night, and then this uh, uh, the Tuesday night before. And I see that Marianne is here from Carefree, Arizona. Hi, Marianne. How are you doing? Welcome. And I think that I was just talking with Monica, and Jeanette was also trying to get in. So she will be looking for her to come on here. So let's jump right into uh, the the communication uh, mishaps that occur, the mistakes that baby boomers make. Is that there's Bob Herb calling in from Roatan. How you doing, Bob? Great to see you. Always enjoy your pictures during the week, your photographs on your website, and there's Jeanette. Jeanette's in. Good. Good to see you. All righty. Very good. Okay. So the first thing that comes up that I notice when people start working online, baby boomers, 50 plusers, uh, is they get a little bit stuck on the directness of the communication. And they don't realize that uh, because they're used to going and interviewing for a job and getting hired and having all that kind of uh, stuff go on, uh, they put a little bit too much emphasis about what is really happening here. And they see a job on one of the systems, Upwork, Freelancer, Guru.com, any one of the systems, that they feel like they could solve that problem. They could do that for the client, but they're thinking about, I'm not really strong in this area and I'm not strong in that area. If you can do the job, you just want to communicate directly that you can do that job. It doesn't matter that you changed industries 5 times in your career. It doesn't matter that you did that job poorly at first, but after a decade or two, you mastered it and you know how to do the specific thing they're asking for. So that is a hardness in this. This is a a rough way to get started in this, with that directness. And the nature of online communication, other than, if it's video like we're doing now, it's not as bad. But it's if it's not video, You're communicating through chat, through emails. Um, a lot of jobs come and go. In fact, I would imagine a large percentage of early jobs come and go because the buyer is just evaluating talent out there. They're assigning the same job to multiple people and looking for somebody who can do what they want done. But that directness scares baby boomers, and they start thinking about, well, do I know this well enough? Do I know how to do that well enough? And my advice is, if it looks like you can do a job, you should always bid on it. That's the advice. The worst thing that could happen is you don't win the job, and there's no real negative consequence for that. But by preparing a response to that proposal, you do get a lot of you're starting to build that muscle of writing proposals and using the template and that sort of thing. So that's a very uh, handy way to deal with that directness and stay focused on what exactly is the job asking for. And when I go through members of our programs and we're on the phone or on the Tuesday night call and they have a proposal that's written, a lot of times their proposal talks about things that really weren't included in the job. So that's something to watch out for. That's a place to pay attention to. And here's Randy coming in from Red Friday here in KC. Yep, good to see you live as well. Glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. We're talking about communication pitfalls, and there are many. So the other side of the directness of communication, once a baby boomer typically gets a job, is the over communication. We come from a generation where we did our best to communicate clearly. And, usually we were looking at the person that we were communicating with or communicating on the phone, but we were in real time talking with that person. And so we were able to see their reactions, hear the tone of their voice. And now so much of the communication is done by email or chat window. And this is where, as baby boomers, we tend to write too much. If you want to ask a question of of the person that's hired you, it's best to ask a sentence or two. It's never good to send a 200 or 300 word email and say, what about this? What about that? What about this kind of thing? Usually a 200 to 500 word email has multiple questions in it, and most freelance buyers are not prepared to go through the process of sitting down and looking at a 200 or 300 word email and breaking out each thing and then figuring out how to respond. They typically won't respond. So if you get into this over communication mode, it can be devastating. And so if you have questions or clarifications that you need, it's best to ask one question at a time to make one clarification. The chat window is good to use on many of these systems. A lot of the buyers are moving increasingly towards using the chat within the project, and also email is good. So there's two good ways to communicate there, but communicate in um, short bites, short pieces of information. We're now all kind of oriented to that. We don't want to sit down and kind of decompose a big document. And I tell people in our Barefoot Brain program, our coach certification program, never send a 500 word email. People won't read it. If somebody does send a 500 word email, it's best to schedule a call with them and spend 15 or 20 minutes talking through what their issue is, what they need to know, that kind of thing. Because as I read those 500 word emails from time to time, I'll notice, in the first sentence or two, I will want to ask a question that will help me clarify my answer for everything else that is there to be uh, to discuss, and it may make discussing big parts of this completely not appropriate. So just know that that's the case there. And another communication thing that I hear from time to time is that that they think, baby boomers, that there's age discrimination on these networks, and you know, there's all kinds of discrimination in our lives, but there's a level at which it exists, and what I found that the level in my personal experience is not very high for baby boomer freelancers that are qualified. Most of the buyers that work on networks are looking for people that can do the job, and most will give you a small little job to test you out to see if you're able to do the work that they want done, and they'll give that same job to half a dozen people. And it may look like a very simple job, something you could do in your sleep. That's usually the best kind of job. And you want to do a really good job with that, because from those, you know, 10 people that they sent that job out to and paid $1,000 to get the job done, they're going to go back to one or two of those people who they recognize as having good talent for their specific needs. And they're going to negotiate longer term contracts with those folks. So that's a case where it makes a lot of sense to, you know, be very uh, responsive, specifically responsive, but do a really good job. One of the things that I hear from time to time is a new person will say, "Well, it's only a $25 job. It's the first one I've done for them. I'm not going to put a lot of time into it." And this is the one that you really should put a lot of time into, because it's the example of your work. They're going to judge they're going to judge the value of you to their organization, and therefore the likelihood increases that they're going to come back to you and ask you to work with them if you do a really good job. They're going to renegotiate the salary. Usually these audition jobs are relatively tiny in size, but I've seen people do write an article for $25 and then go back and actually get a job that was three, four, $5,000 over the next year of ongoing work that they were doing for that person. And the person that says, "I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this first job," doesn't recognize that, you know, this is just the first part of the stream. It's not they're not jumping into the middle of the flow, so it's just very different. Oh, I see Greg is messaging in here from Ontario. Good to see you, Greg. uh Very good. All righty. Okay, let me get back over to so that's pretty much the communication errors people make in the beginning. And the other interesting thing that's happening right now, you know, we just kind of went past Labor Day, and Labor Day in the US is usually the day when, in years past, when everybody goes back to school and summer's over and vacation's over and people kind of bear down for the next 3 months of work before the holidays come along, and what have you. And so the idea is, uh, you know, that's happening now, and what it means now is that people go back into their lives the way they were, and many workers, many employees are rethinking, do I really want to work in an office? Do I want to be in an area where I'm exposed to, you know, at a sort of at a primary level, where I'm exposed to germs and that kind of thing? And then the other thing is, I've been working at home for the last year and a half just fine. I kind of like the idea of not commuting. I like the idea of not having to put on a suit and tie every day or whatever it might be. I like the idea of not eating lunch in the company cafeteria. I like the idea of not getting stuck in traffic. And they're saying, I just don't want to do this. And they're having serious conversations with their company saying, if you can't figure out a way that I can work from home and be your employee, then I'm going to go be a freelancer. And this is called, there's a consultant that's named this the Great Presentation or Great Resignation, and he's on to something. It's people, and it's a big thing. It's one division of Microsoft is expecting a 41% attrition rate. That means that 41% of the employees in that group they think are going to go be freelancers. And so this creates a tremendous gap in the organization. Obviously, there's things that employees do that kind of are the glue that holds the company together. That once that person goes off to become a freelancer, many of them going back as a freelancer to the same organization they just left, there's lots of administrative things that they're not going to be picking up that they have to go and find other freelancers to help them do. We live in a very strange time when people are business owners can't hire people. I've talked to, I don't know, probably a dozen over the last couple weeks that have said that they're trying to hire people. They're paying good above market wages, and they can't even get people to interview. So very interesting time where unemployment is fairly high. Uh, there's this question about, do I go back to work? Do I not go back to work? There's a question about people being still on unemployment compensation and that kind of thing, but not so much in the areas that we deal with, which are the white collar, what we call the white collar jobs. If you're spending a lot of your day working with Microsoft Office and talking to people and coordinating things and meeting deadlines and that kind of thing, they just can't find those people, and that is a real problem. There was an article that came out from the Freelancers Union, I think it was a couple weeks ago, that we shared on this call, that said that they estimate that there's 10 million new freelancers since the pandemic started and going through networks. And so that's a pretty big number there. So that's something to think about. So happy to answer any questions you might have about freelancing as we kind of knuckle back down and um, the uh, uh, the innovation just continues. There's lots of new products now for freelancers. There's new insurance programs where they're bringing together groups of freelancers to get things like medical insurance and special tax advice and special. There's a couple organizations that are now building systems that will help you as a freelancer build your retirement nest egg. It's kind of like some of the tools that we had when we worked for corporations. Where you had a 401k and they were depositing to it, and while you're employed by that corporation, that's all sort of up on your system there, and you can log into it and you can change your deductions and at certain times of the year move around the places that you invest. And so this is all of that. And it's but it's private, it's for freelancers, it's not tied to the company. And once you move your funds into those new retirement systems, you're managing that or having somebody manage it for you. So great to see some of these tools coming along for freelancers to make it a much more a much richer employment experience where you have the option to create those retirement opportunities. Um, Yeah, let's see. Greg is saying, looks like I'm still stuck in Texas. Yes, I am still in Texas. There was about 2 weeks, maybe about a month and a half ago, when it looked like I was going to be able to get back to Mexico. And it was, the Delta virus came along and ended all that. So the area that I live went to red, which means, there only people can arrive there under certain circumstances. You have to be an essential worker, like in an oil well or mining operation or something that impacts the government, there is a kind of a loophole if you're going to a resort. If you're going to a resort, you can go to Mexico, not too difficult to do that. But of course, with the Delta virus floating around out there now and infecting people at a much faster rate than previous, the border is officially closed to what are called non-essential workers, and I'm kind of non-essential in the overall scheme of things. I've never been called a non-essential worker, but I won't take it personally. And uh, so that's what's going on. Randy's mentioning that he's going to be on the beach in Galveston next week. That's very cool. Obviously, people are getting out and going places and doing a few things, and that's a good thing. But this virus continues to create surprises, so I'm looking forward to getting back to Mexico in the near future once things settle down a little bit. But we all have to make adjustments now. Just a crazy time. And Marianne says, where would I find info on financial advisors and insurance specializing in freelancers? You know, um, there's a couple issues there. The first one is, if you're going to be a freelancer and live outside the United States or travel extensively, that's one kind of person. And if you're not going to do that outside the United States, that's another kind of person. Most people that live in the United States or Canada or Australia or wherever it might be, they maintain a presence when they move abroad, but there's things to account for in all of that. And I know that International Living, let me get their website up here, and we'll see. I'll share the screen and we'll poke around. They usually have some resources on there. So let me just get my screen blown up so everybody can see it. And I'll share the screen here. Come on, StreamYard. Share screen. Chrome tab. There we go. Okay. This is International Living's website here. And I would just come in here and do financial plans. Maybe. And we'll see what we get. So this would be one way to start. And so here's a person on protecting your assets overseas. Let's see. Here's one, Allison Lindsay, understanding tax reporting for U.S. citizens. And these are good articles that give a lot of good references in there, maybe groups to call, that kind of thing. That's what I would look for. They have experts in uh, social security. Steve Garfink is somebody that I've talked to at international living conferences and gotten good information that helped me personally. And so that is uh, great, a great place to start for resources. And there are a couple other places that are pretty good. Let me see here. We'll kill that, and we will run. It's interesting. Insurance is something that they don't do a lot in Mexico and most in Latin America. Like a good American, when I got down there, I uh, I had a insurance company that I signed up with, and had it for a couple years, and everybody thought I was crazy. They don't have the litigious environment that they have here in the states, and they don't have the insurance itself is fairly expensive, and they don't have nobody's having house fires because pretty much everything in the area that I live in is built in concrete. So it's that. But let me see if I can get over to YouTube here. Let's see. And look at some of the other advisors that you might talk to. Um, let's see. Live. So I'm using the search term live abroad financial advisors, and I'll share the screen here so you can see it. Yeah, and Randy, good point. The digital business world is here, lots of opportunity. Let's see. Tab, uh, YouTube. Okay, so a couple people, I just do a live abroad financial advisors, and you'll see Dave Ramsey is a nationally known radio host, has a huge organization, and they have recommended financial advisors, and that's a good professional organization uh, to go for. There's lots of people that do what I call the kind of clickbait, that talks about being a financial advisor. Let me scroll down the list here. Um, okay, I'm going to change the language here to expat financial advisors, and that's going to pull up a different set of people. And let me see. Gosh, the one I'm looking for, I'm not seeing. But you will find lots of good. Um, you'll be able to listen to 10 or 20 minutes of a video and get an idea of what people are recommending. You want to make sure that your financial advisor, if you plan to live overseas for a period of time, knows how to uh, file your returns and make sure everything's current. I mean, as a U.S. citizen, we're all um, uh, our worldwide income is taxable, so I've seen it happen where people move abroad and they think that because they're out of the country, they don't have to pay taxes, and they do. Uh, and even if they do something that or make a little money, or don't make any money this year, or have a small business that they lose money in, they figure, well, I don't need to pay taxes if I'm losing money. That might be true, and we suggest that you work with a financial advisor on that question, but you do have to file the form, even if it says 0 or minus whatever it is. So uh, that's a good one. Here's let's see. Gosh, I'm looking for this guy. He pops up on my screen uh, all the time. Expats. Uh, hmm. I guess a couple things that I've noticed is there are people that work is oh, I see what the problem is. Financial spelling might be the problem there. Still not seeing the guy that I'm looking for. Um, but there are a lot of a lot of good advice, a lot of pointers in the right direction. Uh, a lot of folks on international living that have written articles, expert in taxes and how to transact your business. I would say one of the things to be aware of is that particularly in the area of investment advisors, as I travel around and hear things and hear what people get into and that they like and hear what they don't like. I think one of the things that you want to be careful of is that you're dealing with a tax advisor who uh, i- is not necessarily commissioned on the products that you buy from them. That's where I've heard people get in trouble. Is that there are financial planners, for example, that make recommendations on stock portfolios, and some of them do a very good job, and they charge a fee for that. And you just want to know what you're getting into there. It is just understand that and have somebody like your accountant review what your financial planner is doing because they will be able to see forward into your retirement, into your future life if the kind of financial planning that's being done, they're just sort of a counterpoint, a checkpoint to that financial sort of thing. Insurance is not. It's another interesting thing, particularly medical insurance is a big thing. Obviously, if you're going to be abroad for a period of time, but medical insurance, let's see, we'll take a quick look at freelancer medical insurance. Great thing for many baby boomers, of course, is once they turn 65, they'll be able to uh, participate in Medicare, but Medicare doesn't really reach out of the United States. Uh, it's within the US, and so in order to travel extensively you have to have other insurances that some are called evacuation services and that sort of thing, and others are called um, just a general medical insurance with an evacuation rider so that you can get back to your home country and sort of get under the umbrella of Medicare. But Medicare is not going to bring you back. So you have to have that supplemental insurance. So let's look at a few of these here quickly. And the good news is a lot of the stuff is a few Google searches away, but just want to remind you that when you look this up, freelance medical insurance, these first ones are all advertisements. And what you want to do is, many of you know this, I'm sure, but uh, the idea is get down to these ones that are not ads. And here's how to get coverage if you're self-employed, which is basically what being a freelancer is, unless you've um, it's a little different if you have a corporation or that kind of thing. So that's something to pay attention to. So you can start with healthcare gov, and again we'll pop back to international living, and I'll look over there and change that share screen to um, the Chrome tab. And you'll find a lot of good information on here. Let's see, man. And there's lots of sort of good supplemental policies. If your overarching policy is in the U.S. and as it is for many people, and then this will go through and explain some of the. I just visited health or Thailand before the pandemic started, and they have amazing healthcare. I had no idea. In Bangkok, people come from all around the world to have medical stuff done. There's a rating of hospitals. About what their capabilities are and what kind of things they're able to handle and what kind of operations and what kind of things they specialize in. And there's a hospital there that's got one of the highest ratings in the world. And you can show up there and give them about $800 and they'll go over you stem to stern. And then you meet with all the doctors after they've got all the tests back in, and they'll give you ideas on what's good, what's bad, and everything in between, and what you might want to take for a course of treatment and that kind of thing. So lots of good advice within the International Living site. And I know that I did one of the firms that I used uh, was let me just look this up here, and we'll switch over to it. And you'll see here that well, as I go down the list, I'm looking for the one I had, that many different firms now are getting into expat health insurance. Um, this is the one that uh, is very popular. Let's see if I can get StreamYard to play along here. There we go. Okay. Um, Allianz is a care insurance, kind of a can be supplemental. I've used them as a supplemental insurance at time. I've used them as I know for a time I had a annual policy with them. So every time I stepped on a plane to go on a trip, that's when your insurance starts basically, and then it ends when you get back from your trip. So a great organization uh, to work with. I mean, I had good service. Fortunately, had no claims, but actually, I did have a claim on some luggage. My luggage completely disappeared. That's the only insurance claim I want to say in the last 10 years that I've had where I got to my destination, my luggage wasn't there. I figured it'd be there the next day, and they never could find it. So they paid out the claim right away, very prompt. As I think about it, Allianz also paid a claim when I think I got the flu or something just before I was supposed to travel on a personal trip, and so I had to cancel all my reservations, and the airline trip were non-refundable reservations, and they just paid back all of that. So it was very worthwhile to do that. So I hope that answers some of your questions and gives you some places to start, roads to go down and do that. And happy to do a little bit more digging if you'd like. Just drop it in the chat window and we'll do that. In fact, I'll make a note to put in the other insurance company that I used, a couple health insurance companies that are options. And I will also put in the chat window right after we're done here is I'll dig around and find the financial planner that I kind of like. He's got a lot of YouTube stuff out there. And the great thing about YouTube today, and a highly suggested strategy, is when get a recommendation like that, you go watch 3 or 4 of their videos and see if they resonate with you, you know? I mean, some people resonate with others and that kind of thing, and some people don't. So, good to go in there and see uh, what's happening there. So that's good. All right, we got a few chat messages coming in. That's interesting. Greg says he was in the Dominican. There's no hose on the fire trucks. Yes, that's uh, particularly in the tropics, they don't have a lot of fires. With everything being concrete and whatever. It was just kind of interesting. Uh, uh, Hilarious. Okay, Marianne says that it's helpful. Let's see. All right, there's Randy was in New York. Yeah, the investment advice is really important. I mean, kind of the standard advice from a financial planner these days is that you need uh something like $1.2 million to retire at age 65, depending upon that varies depending on your lifestyle and that kind of thing. And that is one perspective. But I know many, many people living abroad who are living on Social Security and maybe a small pension, uh, or they work as a freelancer and collect Social Security, and that covers everything. And that's, of course, the beauty of being able to live abroad. So that's um, yeah, you do want to get that objective advice, and there's lots of good experts out there. And Marianne is saying thanks to Randy. That's good. All righty. Yeah, and Greg is mentioning that you can go to medical services in all around the world, particularly in Latin America. You're not going to find the expense involved. I know I had a pinched nerve, just sort of popped up, didn't know what it is, and I was flat on my back and in tremendous pain. They took me to the hospital. I had CAT scans. I kind of figured out what it was. Took them 3 or 4 days, and I think so. I was in the hospital 3 or 4 days. I'm in. I don't know whether they would call it intensive care, but I was monitored and on an IV the whole time, and being fed and made very comfortable and very pleasant experience. Other than I was in pain, and the pain abated. They gave me pain medications and that kind of thing, and for 4 days in the hospital, I think it was about $2,100. And I know 4 days in the hospital in U.S. would have probably been $20,000 for something like that. So it is pretty amazing. That's one of the benefits. Is there a lot of times when you live abroad, your best stuff is a combination of your home country insurance and then your um, supplemental. That's what people do a lot in San Miguel is they go see doctors. In the United States, the copay on a doctor visit might be 25 or $30, and the office visit itself is priced at 20 or $30. So that's uh, and very satisfied with the healthcare that I got in Mexico. One of the doctors that I would see, was trained in Germany. And of course, the way medicine works today, everybody's getting continuing education units and staying abreast of what's going on and that kind of thing. So lots of good stuff there. So, but just want to emphasize that I'm not a financial planner and I'm not an insurance advisor, so you want to make sure you're checking with professionals on that, because everybody's circumstance is different. But the great thing is every month that goes by, I see more and more options to make it easier to travel, easier to freelance, easier to retire as a freelancer and have that as a part-time activity. So lots of good things to come, especially as we roll out of the pandemic and have get back to our normal life, which fingers crossed will be happening soon. So if this has been helpful for you, I would appreciate if you would hit that like button. Always helps us get our message out to a broader group of folks. And we'll be back here next Friday. We'll be meeting with our members on Tuesday night. So many of you that are on this call are also on that call. So look forward to seeing you then and encourage you to have a great week freelancing. And we'll see you here next week. Take care. Adios. Have a great weekend.